What is up, everybody? In today's video, we're going to be talking about the best Wizard 101 schools to do a solo run on. This is strictly going to be if you're playing solo, not if you are, planning on playing with friends. Obviously, you can join team fights and play with them, like just running throughout the world, but that's not what we're going to really focus on. This is going to strictly be if you want to play this game solo. So, with that being said, let's get into it with our last pick. So coming in at number 7, we do have Balance. Now, I'm not going to shit on Balance too much. Obviously, on my ranking video, like of just the schools in general, I put it dead last. I still personally think Balance is the worst school in the game, but when we're talking about solo, it really struggles, bro. Like, Balance is a school that is really good and excels in team fights. In like a group setting. It's mainly used for buffs. It's mainly used for putting a weakness on the boss. At the start of the game, you get your blade. I'm not sure exactly at what level because I don't play Balance. But your blade is a plus 25, which is 5%, 10% less than every other school's blade, so it just takes way longer to kill. The only good thing is you get your AoE way faster than everybody else. But like I said, Balance in team fights, like it gets the fight done 1 to 2 rounds quicker than if you're doing it without a Balance, which is actually great. But thinking about doing it solo, like, you get your weakness, but that's not really great in terms of killing the enemy. Like, you can put a minus 25 on and it'll do less damage. But Balance, it just takes really long to actually end a fight, and this game is like pretty much only PvE for most people, especially if you're doing a solo run. So that weakness just being, surviving a little bit longer but not killing them, plus that plus 25, it's really not going to kill higher level enemies in the game. That being said, getting your Sandstorm early is pretty good, but that plus 25, it's a struggle solo. It just takes forever to kill people in PvE, and it only really excels in team fights, like I said. That being said, Balance number 7. So I know a lot of people are going to argue with this, but I have to put number 6 at Ice, strictly for the fact that Ice only becomes good around like level 80 to 100, like 70 to 80. It takes so long for Ice to be good. Someone told me in my chat the other day that Ice gets its blade like around level like 30, like something. Like, you get it so long, like it takes the longest out of any other class to get your blade, and with a class that already does like almost no damage, like one of the lowest in the entire games, that's insane. It will take so long to kill things in PvE. The whole gimmick of stunning things is really good, but at the same time, Myth has like the same thing, and it's even actually a little better like later on in the game. Obviously, Ice has so much health, but that's really not that great, only for the fact that, yeah, you won't die, but it doesn't really matter because you're taking like 2 extra turns to kill things anyways compared to other classes. The good things about Ice, obviously, like I said, one of the highest healths in the entire game, but compared to compared to Life, it's very similar, and Life has more damage and it also has healing, so there's really no chance of dying on Life. Ice is kind of, in my opinion, just the worst Life because you get a little more health with like a big drop in damage. It's, in my opinion, one of those classes where it's very grindy, and solo is just kind of rough. So in my opinion, it's going in 6th place. So coming in number 5, we do have Storm, and honestly, I actually at first thought people were going to argue with me about putting Storm at number 5 for solo, but you have to think about this list being a solo list, and I think that any Storm player watching this that is a solo player will absolutely agree that it has to be like lower on the list. You're a glass cannon build. Your damage is great, but at the same time, it takes, the same amount of turns to kill something like as any other class. You need your 3 pips to kill the higher up enemies when you get to Croctopia, and you have the lowest damage in the game. In this clip here, I would think I was level 10. I only had 700 health going into Croctopia, which is insanely low because Croctopia people do 3 pip hits. meaning they could two-round you pretty much. And if you fizzle, which you have the lowest percent accuracy in the entire game, you are dead. You're just basically dead. This class dies more than any other class in the entire game early on. Later on, when you do not have to put the accuracy shield on yourself, this class is great. This class becomes very, very fun when you don't have to worry about fizzling. But that takes a long time to get up to. You know, the beginning of the game, you have to put an accuracy blade on, and then you have to, I think it takes a minute for you also to get your regular blade. Not too long compared to the other classes, but that doesn't really matter because you do enough damage anyways. At that point, it's just overkill. You don't even really need a blade, you know, in Croctopia and things like that. To kill a boss, yes, but you know, it's really not necessary. You have to take a turn to put an accuracy buff on anyways. That being said, Tempest, obviously one of the best 4 pip AoEs in the game, if not the best, just because it doesn't take 4 pips like the other classes. It does 85 damage or 80 damage per pip, which allows you to do way more damage. You use Tempest like all the way through Avalon. You know, I've seen my buddy Ian use Tempest like so many times when we're fighting, and it just immediately kills everything. So Storm is great later on in the game, but early game it absolutely sucks. It's really annoying to use, which is why I haven't done a long Storm playthrough, because it is extremely annoying and dying happens all the time. So Storm being a great class is obvious, but in the solo setting it's rough, man. You die a lot, you have to use an accuracy buff. It's rough, man. So it goes in number 5, even though it's a great class in general. So now we get to talk about my main class, Life, baby. I think Life gets such a bad rap. I think that people do not play it long enough to really understand how good Life is. The only reason I'm going to put it at number 4 here is because it does do like very little damage, and you get your life blade in halfway through Croctopia, so it does take a long time. So that Wizard City to Croctopia run is pretty annoying. Also, King's Isle's a piece of shit for this, but they put the life trap in a secret hidden area in Colossus Boulevard that I didn't know about until like recently. So I didn't even use Life Trap through Wizard City and Croctopia at all. No reason to hide it there. Really weird. But yeah, Life's damage is good, bro. I don't understand really why people think Life does no damage. I mean, Forest Lord just does the same amount of damage, like comparatively to, you know, a lot of the other AoEs, in the fact that it will just kill right away. Questing is pretty easy. If you need to heal, you can heal. You have a plethora of heals to go from, but you never really need to heal, honestly. Like, I just only keep one Satyr in my back pocket in case I get low, but that almost really never happens, because with normal mob fights, you can just Forest Lord, it will kill. When it comes to killing a boss, you have access to, you know, Colossus and like enchants on your 9 pip hits or 10 pip hits, and it will just kill. I mean, Life does great damage. It has insane health. I had 4,000 health when my buddy Ian had 2,500 on his Storm, which is really obvious why you don't need to ever heal. You have so much health, you just take hits and then you hit and win. Life is fucking great, bro. I've had no problems at all on my Life. You know, and I've had a lot of problems on other classes, so I think I have to put it pretty high up on the list. With that being said, yeah, Life's pretty good. So I recently just understood why everybody was clowning me for putting Myth so low on my other tier list. I completely get it now. Myth is pretty damn good, bro. Myth has good health. Myth has great damage, like later game. We'll talk about that in a second. Myth has a minion to summon at the beginning of the game to help you with some of these fights. I mean, Myth, like, really surprised me. I kind of thought that the minions that you were summoning were bad because you have to spend pips to summon them instead of just using a spell to kill things. But a lot of the minion spawns are actually either 0 pip or 1 pip, and they actually do great spells. Like the 1 pip summon at the beginning of the game will actually do a 3 pip hit. So That's great. That's what I was completely wrong about when it comes to Myth. Talking about some of Myth's other great things is it has stuns later in the game. You know, it's 8 pip hit Medusa, which we'll look at in a second. Stuns for 2 rounds and also does great damage, so that's fantastic. The spell below it, the 7 pip Orthrus, highest base damage in the entire game when it comes to 7 pip hits. That like also being on top of it looking the coolest, in my opinion, Orthrus is the coolest looking 7 pip AoE in the entire game. When you get to that point in the game when you're just doing AoE hits like your 7 pip AoE to kill things, and you have to spam that spell over and over and over again, it's nice having a spell that's cool and does the most damage in the game. You know, that's all great. Myth has like health wise almost the same as, you know, I would say Death. They're kind of comparative, and you don't really need to heal, but if you know, get in a situation where you need a pixie, great, use a pixie. You know, your minion will probably take care of the person while you heal anyways, or put a trap on it. So the synergy is really good. You get your 4 pip AoE at 22, which is a little bit later than some of the other ones. I think also Fire gets it at 22, and I think Balance gets it at 16. But with that being said, it is this out of the 3, it does the second most damage. We're gonna look at it in a second here. Yeah, 275 to 315. That's more than the Balance one. That's less than the Fire one a little bit. But getting a 4 pip AoE at 22 is absolutely great. You know, being able to clear enemies way faster is awesome because you also get your blade super early on. I already have my blade and my trap on Myth, and I'm only level like 10. So that being said, I mean, that compared to Life never getting its blade or Ice never getting its blade makes it great for soloing. And then adding a minion for another person to, you know, use spells. Myth is great all around, just a very good class. Especially when it comes to soloing. Now, I'm gonna get some shit for this in the comments. Death has been known collectively by everyone to be the #1 best school to solo with. Now, what the fuck was that? Now, while yes, it is a absolutely amazing school to solo with, I can understand why people are putting it #1. I have to talk a little bit about why I think it's #2. So first being said, they take a long time to get an AoE. Kind of the same with Life, but I mean, I put Life at #4, put Death at #2. You know, Death doesn't get its AoE for a long time until your 7 pip AoE. Death, we'll talk about the elephant in the room. Having heal back is great, but this is kind of why I put it #2. Not every spell has heal back. Every other spell you get will have heal back, and it has very low damage. For a 4 pip to only do 335, obviously you can blade and trap, but you know, and that'll buff it up and you'll get some health back. But early game, 335 for a 4 pip is actually pretty low. But the thing is, you get a heal back spell every other pip, you know, or every other spell. After you get Vampire, you get Skeletal Pirate, and that doesn't do heal back. And that's kind of at a point in the game where you actually do need some heal back. So you will struggle more around Mushu and Dragonspire because that 5 pip does not do heal back. You know, you'll know what I mean. But when it comes to Death, you know, the good thing is you get Feint for free. But I actually don't really think that that's much of a perk, just being because every other class gets Feint. They just spend their training points on Feint. Death can spend their training points on a Tower Shield or, you know, some other miscellaneous stuff. But every other class gets Feint too, let's be honest. That's the #1 thing that everyone else trains, so that's not too much of a perk. Now let's talk about some of the great things about Death. Yes, obviously when you get your 7 pip AoE with Scarecrow, you are going to do insane damage and get all that health back. I just don't personally think that that's that amazing, just because of the fact that you're going to kill all the enemies anyways with that attack, so you can just go get pips or, you know, wisps after, so it's not really that much of a crazy thing. You will almost never die on Death. The damage isn't great, your health isn't amazing, but I mean, the health doesn't matter because most of your, you know, spells do heal back. But it does take a long time to kill PvE enemies, just because you have to blade and then trap. The good thing about Death is that you will never die, pretty much, and that's why it's #2. But with that being said, let's talk about #1. So 2 years ago, I made a fire wizard on my laptop. I was like, okay, fuck it, let's play Wizard 101 again. I decided to go with fire. I died one time throughout the entire way, all the way up to Celestia, which is actually insane. And I didn't realize how good fire was until I actually, tried it for myself. It has genuinely everything that you need. It does a lot of damage. It has enough health to not die like Storm. It has a higher accuracy, and the spells that you get early on are actually insane. And I want to run through it real quick. You get your fire trap, you get your blade, so you do an insane amount of damage, more damage than you need for anything. But when you get to level 22 and you get your AoE like everyone else, it's the highest pip for AoE besides Tempest, obviously, that you can do compared to, Humongo Frog and the Blizzard and, the Balance, Sandstorm, whatever. It's the highest damage one. So that being said, it will kill things way faster. You get an AoE, which is just like insane by itself. But then the spell you get right after it at the same level 22, Immolate, is genuinely insane just to kill bosses in general. So it's kind of like the 7 pip AoE thing where when you're doing a boss fight, you 7 pip AoE to do damage on the boss and kill the minion. It's kind of like the same thing here. You do Meteor to do damage on the boss and kill the minion, and then you have Immolate. Immolate is genuinely insane, bro. It does 200 damage to yourself and then 800 to the enemy, I believe. If you just put a minus 80 fire shield on yourself and a trap on the boss, it will do like 20 damage to yourself or something like that, and then like 1,000 to the boss, and you'll instantly kill them. It is so good. And then, like, not even talking about the 7 pip AoE, fire dragon, that's sick and does a lot of damage, like the same as pretty much everything else. You have to wait a couple turns for it to kill, but I mean, that's fine. You're not going to die from that anyways. I think fire is just the quintessential best all-around class. Like, it has a mix of everything to the point where you kill PvE enemies quicker than any other class. You can just kill a boss immediately with the Immolate. Fire also has this thing where you do all the damage of the overtime spells on yourself to the enemy, which is like great for later on in Avalon. You can instantly kill a boss. In my opinion, fire is better than death just because you kill everything rounds quicker and you almost never die, or at least I never died. I can't wait to do another fire playthrough, but in my opinion, it is the absolute best class to solo with. And that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, put your opinions in the comments. I understand that people are going to have different opinions because everyone has their own favorite class, but I want everyone to take away from this video that no matter which class you pick, you will get through the game. Just because I said something bad about a class doesn't mean that you shouldn't play it. Every class is good in its own aspect. There's just some classes better to solo with. So, with that being said, thanks for watching.